Pretty live. It seems like
Moist vessel.
Moist Vessel. Are you with us? Are you with
Moist.
us?
Moist.
Moist
Moist.
Talette.
Towel.
Okay. All right. I think that's enough time. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Star Trek Lower Decks, the first season, the fourth episode called Moist Vessel is over
Moist.
here on this August evening of 2020. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast as we cover this episode. I'm Dave Mader, joined with Jaemeel Robinson and my brother Jeff Mader. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Excellent.
well.
We're coming off the heels of a Big Brother 22 podcast that we just finished a little while ago. And in between, we watch Lower Decks, and then we come here to talk about Lower Decks. So we're excited to talk about that with you tonight. This was a fun episode, but I don't know if it was my favorite that of the four I've seen so far. Jaemeel, I know you had watched it earlier, and then you rewatched it with me just now. So what's your take on it now?
So I did chuckle a couple times during this episode, but I enjoyed this as a story episode as opposed to, story with hijinks and comedy where we'd be laughing throughout. I enjoyed both A and B plots as just a watcher of a story as opposed to like somebody watching like a comedy. I have issues with the end, but I think we're gonna see stuff like that happen from time to time on this season.
One second, I'm just gonna close my door.
That's okay. The door is closed. I assume, Jeff, you're going to be next in terms of your reaction.
I was gonna go to Jeff next. Yeah, Jeff. So you didn't really say much. Laughed. I heard you laughing with me a few times.
Yeah, I thought there were some strong moments. The whole sequence where Mariner is hating being a lieutenant and being in the senior staff, I thought was the strongest part of the episode.
Oh, like that montage, like where it's quick cutting between all the duties of the senior staff and what comes with being a senior officer.
Yeah, like that, and how much Boimler was hating it and was just so super jealous. And also, I thought what's the science the Orion girl's name?
Devana.
Her stuff was hit and miss in the B plot. Like some of the stuff was funny and was working for me, and then like other stuff I was kind of like, there's a little too much of this going on, and they were trying to lay it on a little thick, and I think they needed a little less of it. But the ending with her with the guy going into the ascension or whatever, I thought that was really good.
Yeah, okay. Like I agree with you for the most part. I thought like it was hit and miss. I thought that this particular, like in terms of what they had like to squeeze out of this, I think comedy wise, I think that it was just a little bit too heavy. It could have maybe just been tightened a bit. But wasn't too bad. Like I thought this was a fun episode. I liked kind of seeing another ship. What was it? The USS
Merced.
Yeah. So with which is basically Captain Freeman's rival. Like they used to serve together on some ship, and they have sort of a rivalry with one another. And they're captaining the ships of the that appear to be the same class, and they're kind of on this mission to tractor beam a generation ship with like a whole bunch of like people in stasis, and the moist vessel of it all is this liquid, this fluid that is from that ship that turns inorganic matter into organic matter.
So liquid Genesis.
Yeah, it's like the Genesis, the thing from Star Trek 2 or something like that. So sort of on that trope. Yeah, like I thought that the senior officer stuff was probably the funniest stuff. That's what I really took away from this episode. And just, I guess the thing that's maybe sticking out to me is like this whole the captain of the other ship, the Tellarite, this what was his name?
Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
Captain Durango.
Durango alone.
Captain Durango. He causes this massive crisis by basically, like getting out of formation with the in the track, which is basically nothing. You're just you're a tugboat. You're just tugging this thing through space, and I guess that guy ascends. Whatever. What was that about? Okay, so the whole ascension thing really is the other thing I'm still trying to figure out here. So I know that there was that episode where that guy, that the John Doe guy in Next Generation, who eventually like ascends or becomes like this higher form of life or whatever. And I guess it's paying tribute to certain episodes of Star Trek like that, where people turn into other things or go to other realms or whatever it is. I don't know if this played that well. I think I would have rather he just died. Like I don't know if they needed to bring him back.
It more than anything, it felt like a Rick and Morty ending than anything, especially with the tortoise, the koala. How what they wanted was actually something that's just brutally awful. It seemed like a very Rick and Morty type of ending. Jody, I absolutely disagree. So Jody says this episode was the worst yet, period. I think the worst in terms of laughs, but I think I hated episode 1 more than this one.
Me too. I concur.
And the reason for that is, if you're not going to make me laugh, at least have a story that at least is somewhat competent. And this one succeeded. I was at least interested in majority of stuff except the ending. Cold opening is awful, mind you, just brutal stuff. But everything else, I was fine with it. I like how this is what the second or third relationship the Orion girl has had, the Orion officer has had in 4 episodes. Where
I don't know, really, like I'm in and out on Davana. I find that Rutherford is consistently funny. And her, like, this whole angle that they gave to her character tonight, that she needs to be liked by everybody. I know people like this, and so I find that kind of funny. But is that something I need them to harp on all the time? Maybe not. But if I know that that's built into
setting the stage with like the an Orion officer desperately trying to have people like them, when the thing is Orion girls, females in general, are specifically can use their pheromones to kind of allure and control things. So maybe that's going to play out in the episode, and they're laying the groundwork that she's desperate to be liked because she's unable to, or she can and she doesn't want to. Right?
Yeah, they'll probably have some more fun with that for sure.
So it's like a groundwork episode. I just didn't like the ending at all with the ascension part. I felt that was like very Rick and Morty-ish.
Yeah, like I agree. Like I think the cold open and the ending of this episode were kind of very cartoony and very didn't land. Didn't really land for me. But having said that, some of the jokes that they were able to fit into the middle of this episode were really good. The captain doing the Scooby-Doo scap jazz thing was hilarious.
That was so funny.
The poker game where the ransom is like licking his like his gums, and and then he's like, "You fold, you all fold." Wait a minute, I'm not gonna. Okay, I fold. Stuff like that.
But Jordan wearing the sunglasses in the game too.
Yeah, Lieutenant Shax
is great. Yes. Shax is my favorite character, and he's barely on the show, but every time he is, I'm happy.
When she's like
for less.
When she's assigned to like clean the turbo lift or whatever, grease the turbo lift, and he gets in there and she's like, "Hey, I'm working here." He's like, "Sorry." And he just like, that's one of his only lines in the episode, and it's hilarious. Like and he barely says anything.
I thought we chose bar stools. It's like, I can't. It hurts my back. You're not sitting on it right.
Yeah, I forgot.
Killed men for less.
The whole conversation about like we have serious junk. If we get a back and then it has a leather strip down the middle, no, we can't do that. It's just like, and I'm like, I think that this is something they would fucking argue about.
we've all been in like leadership meetings where it's like nonsensical garbage, and you're like, oh my gosh, why are we arguing about this such a inane topic? And it's like that's what those meetings are like, talking
Right.
about chairs. Right? Should we get a leather strap? Should we get ergo chairs? Which ergo chairs should we get from which manufacturer?
Yeah.
Like,
It would be better to get
so
a stand-up desk. Should we have no chairs?
Yeah. Up, down, give people the option. Do we really want to have that kind of an office? We don't want an us versus them scenario.
uh,
You know, you could do, I don't know. We could all get all kinds of like things. Like, I think that basically, yeah, you are on this ship. It is your job, right? Although it is your passion to be in Starfleet. I think that there are ship office / office politics going on here. So it's bringing in sort of that office humor, not like the mockumentary side of it, really, but just like the whole like this is what we're gonna put up with. Sometimes I think Beckett takes it a little far in terms of her insubordination, but that's kind of who she is, right? Like this whole arc that she goes through in this episode of getting like they can't get rid of her by just giving her the worst jobs, so they promote her so that she has to spend more time with her mother and just with these senior officers who she finds stuffy and not fun and whatever, just to get demoted back down to an ensign. That's what she likes doing, like I guess being down there with the little people or whatever. Like, it's more of a camaraderie. We haven't talked a lot about the whole fact that they all live in this hallway together and have little bunks. Like that's a little weird. But I like for this time period, like they've shown that kind of stuff in like, Star Trek 6, like that was kind of a 23rd century. I know I'm nitpicking,
but that's what you do, Dave, and we love you for it. It's fine.
Yeah, I guess the Defiant was the only ship that really had like kind of bunks like that, but that was a different kind of ship. I'm starting to like the Cerritos. I'm starting to grow in this world, right? Every time I see those science officers in those white boots, I go, "That's an odd choice." I got to tell you, but that everyone else gets black boots, but the science division gets white boots.
Jeff, how did you feel about the uniform change for Mariner?
I think she looks better in the yellow.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I hope they make that change down the road. I get what they're doing,
just
but
aesthetically with her, like like you mean, or
yeah, she just looks better in the uniform. I think for me, like I don't know, like the character pops more, and and I really do think like at first I thought like Boimler was the main character, but it's clear it's Beckett's the main character. And Boimler's kind of like the sidekick to her.
Right.
She's her dean.
That's really
he's her dean to her Frank.
Oh, I thought you meant to her Sam.
Yeah, like to me, like they're almost like a Steinfeld ensemble too, right? Like you got you got the four of them, right?
Yeah,
they're kind of like four friends, right? And it revolves around one of those four, or more one of them, depending on how many plots they have in the episode. I don't know. Like nothing in this episode was like this is the worst thing that's ever happened to Star Trek. Definitely not. Like it didn't make me laugh as much as I wanted it to all the time, but generally I was in. I was, the only time I find I'm taken out of it is when people act out of character. I didn't think what this captain did made a lot of sense, but it's but whatever. I'll excuse it, I guess. Just
we take under consideration that one supposedly Beckett is captain, and she has to have Mariner on the show, has to, like, on the ship. She's responsible, nothing she can do. Her admiral husband has kind of forced her into this situation. 2, the rest of the crew doesn't know that their mother and daughter, although I don't know how they couldn't or wouldn't, or they don't really want to talk about it.
Only the first officer knows.
But he kind of implies that he's like, I don't know why you keep her around.
Yeah, right? He did say those things, right? So I guess he doesn't know. How can you not know? You just look it up. It's like in the database, right? Like he would have to have looked up his captain's personnel file.
But they never mention a relationship in the presence of other people. It's always them. And I guess it's the show just being coy and kind of making a decision down the road where maybe this is going to be a revelation, maybe not, right? Because it would be considered favoritism that uh, she doesn't get punished, or she's given a lighter load because she's a daughter, or a heavier load because she's a daughter. So I guess to avoid that altogether, they kind of have that under the impression. So only Bormuller knows. That
Yeah, I guess
yeah,
so. Like it's odd, but I guess it's baked into this like the premise of this show,
yeah,
as to your point. And I don't know if their relationship is fully like working for me, all the time. Like this mother, like what their dynamic is. Like even after tonight, I'm like, okay, where do you go from here exactly? Because they've kind of
they reset it. They sitcomed it.
it, right? So where we're
That's
gonna
what
do,
I did not like
yeah.
it.
Right? Yeah.
Individually, I think the captain and Beckett are working, but together, I'm not convinced that the show is accomplishing what it wants to accomplish
With those two,
with those two, which it seems they want kind of a I don't know, like a relationship that is kind of deep, like kind of like where they can have those moments where it's like they're bonding,
well,
but at the same time, like they the rest of the crew doesn't seem to really like acknowledge them or like like as a unit, and they don't want to like really be a unit, even though but then they're trying to like have these moments. So I don't know if it works yet, but maybe it doesn't need to work right now and it'll work later.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm waiting to wait and see. Like I get that that's what they wanted to do, because they had to address that at some point. If they're going to make it a mother-daughter thing, they had to address it in an episode in some way.
and you as well do it sooner than later.
True.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened here. And like there was really like very very little though like Rutherford in this episode. There was very little Ransom, Shax. A lot of the people that I think are the funniest weren't really in the episode all that much, but the captain was really funny, I thought, and so was Beckett. Beckett was really funny, so they kind of carry
the guy who plays the engineer. He's from the league, right?
No, okay.
You know who I mean?
Which guy?
The bald guy.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Sorry, his name is Paul Scheer.
Paul Scheer.
Paul Scheer.
Yeah, part of the.
Who did he do? Did he do?
He
the
does
guy
like
that,
he was just like he was having that conversation with Shax about the stools and all that stuff, right? Like he was the guy with the mustache, the engineer with the mustache.
Oh, does he do that guy's voice?
Yeah.
It's like I thought we voted on the bar stools. It's like no, it hurts my back. It's like
Yeah, it's some
I
of the funniest
killed men
stuff.
for less. It's like no, you don't. It's like I
Well,
lied about it, but I was good.
I threaded men for almost the same, or whatever.
A great exchange.
Yeah.
Like another problem I had with this episode. I wish it was an hour. I wish we had more time with
These
Beckett
characters.
like Beckett as with command, and there was more hijinks. I wanted more of Bormuller just seething at what's going on, and wanting like just trying to get in, trying to be bad, and just completely failing at it. We didn't really need more of the B storyline. I was kind of enough of it, but just more of what works.
Yeah, I kind of wanted him to
torturing
be
her, more of her, like
that lieutenant that she's trying to get to ascend, who she's trying to make up for the fact that she ruined his meditation party, that he admits he was just faking in order to sort of get attention as like the spiritual guy on the ship. He's like maybe the Chakotay of the ship. Akuchimoya. Yeah, right. And he was just faking it. And but I kind of wanted him to die there. I didn't care for his character really that much, and also I wanted to see how the show dealt with death, how if it could deal with something like that, because a lot of Star Trek episodes do, and how Lower Decks is going to sort of approach that. Because I think it's going to come up eventually. I think eventually they're going to try to do the Borger here and whatever.
Mom's gonna die. Mom's gonna die.
Mama's going to die?
Mom's gonna die.
maybe that's where this is headed. Maybe she's only gonna be around for the first season, and then maybe eventually there's a new captain. Not sure, but
I called it it's episode 1 that I think the lower decks people will become the upper deck people, and then there will be a new set of characters put into the lower deck.
Mariner becomes captain.
Yeah, and her daughter's
Abram
pissing
versus
her off. It
Star
won't
Trek.
listen.
And Boimler's the first officer, or Ransom just stays the first officer.
Yeah.
Actually, Boimler's like the guy with the mustaches spot.
I also like this idea that Boimler will never be promoted, and he'll just
never be promoted.
never
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
noticed.
Well, we have that moment with him tonight where he's like, "So they like it when we break the rules, eh?" It's like
spills
now
the
he's just
coffee.
gonna, yeah, he's just gonna go nuts though.
Are
on
you
everybody.
crazy?
So wait, they have to have an episode with Q, and it shows Boimler like they do a reverse "This Is Your Life" like they did with Picard, but it's with Boimler like doing everything bad. All right.
Yeah, that'd be great, and then it all backfiring on him, and yeah, for sure.
Like
or
he becomes
the
too
opposite.
great. He becomes too great.
Yeah,
Or
like he becomes first
overshadows
officer.
Chief O'Brien and the most important man in history, and so he
Yeah.
has to like I gotta take the other path. I can't take away O'Brien's shine.
Yeah, like it just was. I want to see. I'm okay if the show. I think the show can be funny and also maybe a little bit more Star Trek than it is, just in terms of taking these. I just like what took me out of the pilot was just like the whole sequence where everyone's turning into zombies, but Rutherford and the Trill lady, they're very much more interested in flirting. So I'm like, yes, like maybe it's just a Tuesday. I think you can take that. You can pull that back a bit. I think that there's a balance here. I think we can still, the show can be super funny and also interesting and have a plot and whatever.
They changed Rutherford's character though. Like if that like his current character, he'd be more concerned about something sciencey as opposed to making out with the Trill, right? Like a funny moment was, he found the enjoyment in watching the tractor beam being regulating and the readings. He's like, "Oh my gosh, wow, it is exciting."
A comment from Michael Chan. He's saying that heart reaction was not an accidental butt reaction. I legit hit the heart because I love you, Pete. Oh yeah, so last
We love you
week,
back.
so I said to him the other night, I was like, "Hey man, are you angry about something we said in the podcast?" Because he gave it an angry emoji, but it was just a butt dial. So that's what that's about. Yeah. So I was like, was it a spoiler or did we say something, or was it because we were saying that Discovery wasn't good? Because I know he's a fan of Discovery. So
That was my my initial reaction. I was like, he must not like our takes on Discovery.
yeah, that was our theory. But no, he was. But Michael, I don't know if you've watched this episode of Lower Decks, but we'd love to hear what you think. We're going to be doing Star Trek Radio Theater with Michael and his wife Jessica on this Sunday. Yeah. Okay. So
yeah,
just looking ahead. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was just gonna say that I think this episode kind of like for me just gave me what I want out of Lower Decks. I'm starting to grow into what I want out of the show, which is make me laugh, give me Star Trek puns, get me to love these characters, which they're doing. They're not. There's a few characters that they're not. I'm not quite sold on yet, and one of them is Tendi. Like she's not. Her jokes are not landing for me yet. So like, I hope they can kind of.
I think they're landing more than Mariner's jokes are landing. Because I don't think Mariner's a great comedic character all the time. Depends who she's with, but
yeah.
Well, I thought she was fantastic tonight. Other than like the cold open and like some of the jokes with her mom kind of sucked.
That yawn thing. Oh.
The yawn thing was bad.
But what was her best joke tonight?
It was all the stuff with like the poker.
The
where
poker.
It's like,
it was
you
all the stuff.
You fold.
So when she's calling the senior officers on their sort of pretentious nonsense, or like but also being honest. Like I said, it's always honest. Like this is exactly what they would do, right? And I think that's what they sort of have always done with the show is like call out the absurdity, but sort of embrace that is just what is normal in Star Trek universe.
Yeah.
People ascend. That's what they're always like. Like this is a universe where literally like Leonardo da Vinci was also like the 700-year-old man that was like had all these different lives. That this was a planet that this is a world where Earth is not like our Earth. Like it's there was the eugenics wars, there was Khan, there was all these other things. They have it's Earth, and it's similar to us in a lot of ways, but it's also not. It's got a very different history, different set of rules about reality, and like there's time travel, there's alternate dimensions, there's Q, there's whatever you want. So it's almost like unlimited. Whatever you can imagine can happen in Star Trek, basically.
Is there going to be a mirror episode
of this
show?
Will they do it?
Think so?
I don't believe so. Not for a while. If they do it, it won't be in this season. I don't think, because this is more modeled off TNG, and TNG never even did a mirror universe episode.
So like Mirror Boimler is just a guy who's more like Mariner, and vice versa. Like I don't.
No, I think they would switch it on his head even more. So.
Well, he might be like the guy that we saw in tonight's episode where he was like, so they want you to break the rules. Like he might just be like this crazy person that breaks every rule and but is more like vindictive, you know? Whereas like Mariner doesn't do it to be that. She just does it because that's what she likes to do. And like she doesn't want to, you know, get bogged down in minutia, and she just wants to have fun.
Right. And she likes exploring space. She likes doing this job, but she doesn't like all the paperwork for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like that comes with being a senior officer, and she doesn't like that. She doesn't. I don't think she doesn't like that. She doesn't fit in. Also, with like, she doesn't like that she's a little different, and so she kind of disrupts everybody around her because of that.
She obviously grew up in, you know, she has a military background, Starfleet family, so a lot of rules and regulations. So she's just, it's a natural reaction. Her flex is to always rebel against the status quo or what is just the standard, and there's no wiggle room for rule breaking and interpretation and, you know, spontaneity in higher command. So that's why in the lower decks there's more flexibility. There's no one watching you. You can make things into you can with carbonite cleaning, you can turn into like a huge wager that everyone's enjoying, right? You match that against the poker game where everything is very standardized, everyone has rules, and they seem to fall. You can't go all in,
right?
You know?
They can't decide what
betting in their fake money. You know,
they did fake money. It's like I do like the cat doctor, like her jokes a lot of the times, like where it's just like, how long will it take you to fix that biobed? I don't know, 4 hours. That's awesome. You know, like she constantly like flips the joke on its head, and she did that again tonight with the poker, where she's
don't tell me what to do.
Don't tell me what to do. I fold. You know, like it's just. I think I love the Doctor. I like the cast. I think that this is a great voice cast for the most part, and I think that they're playing off each other pretty well. Not all the time. They're gonna have to sort of iron out what's not working, but you know, it's a mixed bag. The other thing that kind of stuck out to me, like I think Jeff, you were saying, like, what's the point of this Mariner and Freeman relationship, right? The mother-daughter relationship. I felt like it's also trying to just appeal to a younger audience, like as a parent, especially, like this whole like. Let me be me, and all, like coming from Mariner to her mother, like I was like, okay, like this is very much about sort of like I'm a millennial, but but the next generation after is like the Gen Zs, I guess, or the Gen Zs, and so that's, I think, part of what they're feeling maybe, and so they're trying to just call that out directly in dialogue. Case in point, the yawn joke. I mean, the yawn joke is for kids. Yes. It wasn't funny. It's funny if you're, 7. Is it? Yeah.
She yawned repeatedly.
She yawned because she's bored. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
It's funny, like, when you're a kid, because you're like, oh, like, it's one of those. Probably not, but I like to think 7-year-old me would be dumb enough to think that was funny. Okay. So that's kind of how I look at that joke. If that's the bone they need to throw to the 7-year-olds to get them to like the show, then whatever. Look, that's what they went with on the cold open. Yeah. And they did that for a reason. because they probably test screened it with a bunch of kids and saw it worked.
Got more of them to watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably, right?
It's a cartoon this is a cartoon at the end of the day, guys. And yes, it's geared towards Star Trek fans, for people, people that watched Star Trek when they were growing up, and kind of want to go back and get all those nostalgic feels. But at the same time, they want to bring in new people. They want to bring in, like, they want the new kids and to grow up on this, and then go back and
just like when we were growing up, the Next Generation was that, right? And
right.
The Next Generation did do a lot to definitely make itself different than the original series in all kinds of ways, but it was still like a crew, right? Like, it was more of I guess it was more of the movie dynamic is kind of what I think, like, the Next Gen picked up more than the TV show, the original series, that is. Yeah,
for sure. Oh, that's the thing. When we watched the original series, Dave, and we watched like TNG or whatever we watch, or Deep Space Nine, especially when we watched the original series, that show was nothing like the TNG
The subsequent
scope.
Yeah.
There are things similar, but for the most part, the formula of the show is quite a bit different. There are, like, the 60s version of Star Trek is like the old, it's like the old West, but it's also like got like, they get in and they get out. Nothing really continues over to the next episode. Nothing's really, recalled back from a previous episode. It's very serialized. It's boom, it's boom, it's boom, right? Whereas in TNG, like, there's a lot, they're referencing lots of history from the original series, but also from just things that they've already brought up in the past, or all sorts of different things, right? So Lower Decks has that luxury of all that universe to play with, like you said, they could do Q, they could do time travel. Once they do get to do that, I'm excited to see what they could do. Now, Jaemeel, you were saying that, like, you wish it was like, an hour long, or maybe 42 minutes long would be like the hour long instead of 22 minutes. I would like to see this show around 30 minutes. I think 8 more minutes of show for me would be perfect.
Right.
I wanted more of this. I enjoyed the story, right? And I would prefer to, like, see it drawn out more, and more of Beckett, cleaning and doing tasks, even just a couple more minutes, more time with her in with leadership and going through that. I felt like there was more. There's more they can do. Her having to run the bridge, for a set of hours, and I thought, like, the tractor beam thing was gonna be a factor that just continues on, so and such, and once again, not Brimler, engineer, Rutherford was gonna get involved, and that's where, like, things were like cross over. It just felt like that his involvement just seemed to be taken out.
Right. That's a good point. Like I said earlier, that there really wasn't enough Rutherford, there wasn't enough Shax, and there wasn't enough Ransom for me in this episode.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with the 22-minute format, is like they have to focus on like one character or one relationship. And tonight they kind of focused on, Beckett and her mom, and Tendi and the religious guy. That was really...
Yeah, I think it's going to shift around. I think each week we're going to get, like, well, this is episode 4, so we're going to get 6 more in this first season. I think that, like, maybe next week it will be more. Oh, we see that it's going to be more Boimler next week, because he was not in this a lot. But even the senior officers, I think we'll have one where the cat doctor, she's going to be in it more, and whatever. Like last week, it was more of Ransom. We saw, like, it was Ransom and Beckett were a big part of last week. All that stuff. And I'm okay with that, because that's kind of the TNG model.
I love it. Double.
Like, we know, because we do that Star Trek Radio Theater. We know that there's episodes where, like, a main character like O'Brien maybe has like one word in an episode or something like that, right? Or he's like, "Hey, this is all I'm doing this week.
Stick.
Give me my jump stick."
Jump stick.
All right. Do we want to look just ahead? Oh, so let's just rate this episode, and then we'll talk about next week. So, okay, I know you showed me that preview, Jeff, but what was going on in that?
Oh, you want? Yeah, I can.
Let's see if I can recall.
Or Jaemeel, yeah.
recall-
You can. What did you
there's
think
a
was going
girl-
on?
So
There's a
Brubler
ahead.
has his longtime faraway girlfriend coming to meet him. Of course, Mariner doesn't believe she exists at the first part, and then meets her, so automatically feels like something is up. But we not quite sure if it's jealousy or if that's the case. And what eventually happens is there is some awkward sitcom moments, Farley Brothers type humor with them interacting, which includes a pantsing.
Yeah, I saw the pants scene at the end. I was like, "What's going on?" Okay, like maybe it will be funny, but like I didn't really like. From what I could tell from the preview, I wasn't drawn in right away.
Yeah,
by
it was a
anything I
terrible
saw.
preview.
So work on that, CBS. Okay, so let's just talk about this. So let's just get right to it. Jeff, you got a rating?
Probably give it a for me on this one.
Say that again.
6.5.
Yeah, just kind of your volume just dipped out just when you said what you were gonna do.
Oh, did it? Well,
Okay, Jaemeel.
I would say 7.
I was wrong.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that fits in with. Yeah, it fits in 7.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in that range. I think a 7 is too generous. I think it's more like a 6.8. So that brings us out to an average of 6.8. I was right on the money with that 6.8. I'm right in the middle of you. Jeff's at 6.5 and Jameel's at 7. So I'm right. I'm smack dab in the middle. So that is better than the pilot, but only just a bit in our rating system. Last week still strongest so far in Temporal Edict.
How does Jane feel about the show so far?
Well, she's mostly positive on it. Like she's liking it. She wouldn't tell me what she thought of this particular episode tonight because I hadn't
Don't
seen
talk
it yet.
to me.
Don't talk to me. Get out of here. Don't talk to me, she says. I was like, all right. I don't want to taint you, she says. Yeah, I mean, you can never taint me. Jody already told me what he thought. Like this morning, he messaged our group saying, I hated this episode. He showed up tonight to let us know again that I'm curious to hear why Jody's hating this so much. But also,
yeah, I could tell you why. He hates Beckett.
Yeah.
She's one character.
I don't think he likes that
she's
character.
Mary suing a little bit.
Yeah,
she's
whatever.
doing the yawns. Like we even cringed on some of those things. Like it's true, but Jody is not one to forgive those things.
He's not one to let overlook.
He's killed men for less.
Well,
Yes,
no, you
killed
haven't.
men
Well,
for less.
I've threaded men for about the same.
You give him one yawn, you give him 2 yawn jokes, you give him 3 yawn jokes. You're dead to Jody. That is it.
Yeah,
Jody, rest up. You need all that energy, that hateful energy for Trivial Debates on Saturday. Check it out.
Saturday, Trivial Debates. I'm going against. I haven't even told you guys what I put in my answers with Kevin. I won't say them here. But there's.
I want to hear.
Okay, so I'll just say this. Sometimes the advantage of getting your answers in last, there's an order to Trivial Debates. You know, once the questions come out, whoever answers first, and you say like, I want to argue for this song in the music round, it's first come first serve. So because I'm going last, in one of the rounds I said, can I have this answer? No, it's taken. And then I said, okay, here's my second choice, and they say also taken.
Oh.
So I now know exactly what I'm arguing against in that round, whereas they do not know what I'm arguing for.
I love it.
Advantage, Dave.
I have an answer for the best female ensemble cast movie.
You have your perspective. You want to say it here?
You're gonna disagree that it's not a female ensemble cast movie, but I will argue with you. Kill Bill Volume 1 is a female.
I thought about that. It crossed my mind. I decided.
You're absolutely right.
But Michael Madsen is one of the Viper Squad.
But you barely see him. He's more featured in the second one.
I know.
Yeah.
But, okay, so you can say the first one is more.
That's what I said. Volume 1.
Yeah, volume 1.
Just Volume 1. Okay, I can accept that. Yeah, I should have thought of that. That's not what I'm arguing. So Anyway, let's sign off here tonight. Just to plug, we said Trivial Debates this Saturday, which is our other channel, Super Mater Brothers Podcasting. We're covering Big Brother 3 times a week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So we'll be back late Sunday night for that next installment of Big Brother. But before that, we'll be doing Star Trek Radio Theater, if you're a fan here. And our next episode is the Deep Space Nine episode Defiant, where we think William Riker shows up to Deep Space Nine, but it actually turns out to be his, not evil, but his transporter duplicate, Thomas Riker. So he's got some Maquis buddies with him. So this is a great episode. If you've never seen it or it's been a while, it's from the 3rd season of Deep Space Nine, 1994. Came out around the same time that Star Trek Generations came out. So I think it was a kind of a cross promotion with Generations, and just the fact that was in theaters, and that the TNG crew was transitioning into movies. And so I'm going to be playing Commander Sisko and Quark. Jeff's going to be playing Mitra Kieran Reese and Gul Renor. And I'll be Michael Chan's going to be playing Gul Dukat. Jessica Chan playing Thomas Riker and Odo. And then we have Ashley Millard as the narrator, as also as Dr. Julian Bashir and Chief O'Brien. And Kevin Millard as Kalita, one of the Maquis, as well as the computer. And my wife Jane playing Lieutenant Dax, an Obsidian Order observer named Corinus, and Tamal, a Maquis henchman. So, all right, check that out Sunday night at 9:00. We'll be live here on Live Long and Podcast for that. Until then, I think we can sign up here on Lower Decks, and we look forward to covering episode 5 next Thursday night with you. All right, I'm Dave, Jaemeel, and Jeff. Have a good one. This is not a sarcastic Vulcan salute like Mariner was giving tonight. Don't you give me that sarcastic Vulcan salute.